when news broke that China's President Xi Jinping made a surprise visit to Tibet. The world immediately turned its eyes to the high plateau, a region that has always carried both historical weight and political sensitivity. For decades, Tibet has been a flashpoint of global attention, often symbolizing the struggle between tradition and modernity, identity and control, resistance and authority. And now, with this sudden and carefully timed appearance by Xi, the message was loud and clear. Unity and development under China's leadership are non-negotiable. But behind the official smiles and slogans, this visit tells a deeper story about power, geopolitics, and the future of Asia. Imagine the scene. High mountains, snow-capped peaks, crisp air at an altitude where even breathing feels heavier. Suddenly, amid tight security, Xi Jinping arrives, not just as a leader, but as a symbol of authority. The people line the streets, some dressed in colorful Tibetan robes, waving flags, holding banners, chanting scripted words of welcome. It is a spectacle, carefully staged, yet powerful enough to send a message across the world. The president walks through the crowds, smiling, shaking hands, receiving white ceremonial scarves, a gesture of Tibetan hospitality. But beneath the warm pictures lies a reminder. Tibet is under China's watchful eye, and this visit is proof of control as much as it is of unity. The official narrative frames this trip as a mission of development. She talks about building modern roads, railways, and infrastructure that can transform Tibet from a remote plateau into a connected hub. The high-speed railway, the highways cutting through mountains, the airports built at impossible altitudes. All these projects are presented as signs of progress. Development becomes the key word, repeated again and again, as if to erase the voices that might speak about autonomy, freedom, or dissent. The government wants the world to see Tibet not as a land of unrest, but as a land of growth, prosperity, and harmony under Beijing's leadership. But if we look closely, the timing of this visit cannot be ignored. Xi Jinping chose this moment not by accident, but by calculation. The global stage is shifting. Tensions between China and India simmer along the Himalayan border. The West continues to criticize Beijing's human rights record, and within China, projecting strength and unity is always essential before key political milestones. By walking into Tibet unannounced, Xi is sending a powerful message to all sides. China is confident, unshaken, and firmly in charge of its territory. The visit is not just about Tibetans. It is about telling the world that Tibet belongs firmly within China's orbit with no room for negotiation. For decades, Tibet has been the subject of international debate. The exiled spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, remains a global figure, inspiring millions with his message of peace and cultural identity. Yet inside Tibet, Beijing's grip has tightened year after year. Cultural traditions, language, and religion continue, but always under the framework of state supervision. In this context, Xi's surprise visit is more than symbolic. It is strategic. By presenting himself as the leader who brings both unity and prosperity, he attempts to rewrite the global narrative, showing Tibet not as a victim of suppression, but as a proud region flourishing under China's care. Still, no visit of this scale is without layers of meaning. Tibet is not just a cultural issue, it is also a strategic one. Geographically, Tibet sits like a roof of Asia, overlooking India and touching Nepal, Bhutan, and other sensitive areas. Whoever controls Tibet controls the heights, the water sources, and the roads that lead to some of Asia's most important frontiers. Xi's presence here, therefore, is not only about development, it is about geopolitics. It is about standing tall on the mountains and showing China's neighbors that Beijing holds the advantage, both symbolically and strategically. When she speaks of unity, he is speaking to multiple audiences. To Tibetans, he is saying, "Your future is tied to China's progress, and the state is here to stay. To the Chinese public, he is reinforcing the image of a strong leader who safeguards the nation's borders and unifies diverse regions under one banner. And to the world, he is showing defiance that no matter the criticism, China will shape its destiny on its own terms. The smiles, the handshakes, the dances of Tibetan performers all are staged as part of a bigger picture. A nation projecting confidence in its ability to merge tradition with modern power. But behind the grandeur lies the question: how do ordinary Tibetans see this visit? For many, the promises of development bring roads, electricity, and better living conditions. But for others, there remains the silent concern that development often comes hand in hand with assimilation, where identity risks being overshadowed by uniformity. The visit does not erase these questions. Instead, it highlights the delicate balance Beijing wants to maintain: progress without resistance, unity without dissent, loyalty without compromise. The symbolism of Xi walking through Lhasa, waving to the crowds and addressing officials, is meant to echo through history. Rarely has a Chinese leader made such a high-profile trip to Tibet, and the fact that she did so in a surprise manner shows both confidence and control. He is not afraid of the world's reaction because the narrative is already in his hands. Cameras capture smiling faces, infrastructure projects, and cultural dances. The imagery is powerful, but it is also calculated. Every scene is designed to reinforce the idea of harmony, an idea that Beijing wants not only its citizens but the entire world to accept. As the visit concludes, the message becomes clear. Tibet is not a question mark in China's story. It is an exclamation point, a showcase of how the central government extends its influence to even the most distant regions. A reminder that geography, culture, and politics are all woven into one fabric under the banner of national unity. Xi Jinping's trip is not just a political move. It is a performance, one meant for the people, the nation, and the international community all at once. And yet, the deeper questions remain. Can unity truly be achieved through development alone? Can centuries of cultural identity coexist with the push for modernization? Can Tibet's unique voice survive while being part of a louder chorus led by Beijing? These questions are not answered in the speeches or the images. They linger in the background, waiting for history to decide. But for now, what the world sees is a leader standing on the plateau, projecting strength, certainty, and vision, telling the story not only of Tibet but of China's future path. This visit will be remembered not for its surprise alone, but for what it represents: the blending of symbolism, strategy, and state power into one carefully crafted narrative. Xi Jinping walked into Tibet not just as a leader but as an architect of China's grand story, a story of unity, development, and RUCQ, development and control. And whether the world agrees or resists, the message has already been delivered.